Shalom and welcome back to this week's installation of a Bisseleh Torah. We are reading this week Mishpatim, which follows in the aftermath of the giving of the Torah that we read last week, the revelation at Mount Sinai. Mishpatim is replete with numerous laws, but I'd like to start with a different question, a question of whether we believe in or believe that. It's a question that is pervasive, powerful, and every religious person at some point probably addresses in their own life, if not once, many times over. Do we believe in God, and or do we believe that God? If we believe in God, the ultimate question, at its essence, is, do we need to believe in God in order to be Jewish? The question, of course, devolves into a question of, is there such a thing as a dogma? Do we have to believe God in order to effect the fact that we are Jewish? And the question revolves around many times through scholars and a variety of generations. And they say both yes and no. But the other side of the question is, do we believe that God? Do we believe that God acts in our lives? Do we believe that God acts throughout the course of Jewish history? Do we believe that God has something to teach us? Do we believe in, as we say in Latin, amatio Dei, that we are supposed to follow the image of God as portrayed in the Torah and other sacred texts? To illustrate, let's think back to the Garden of Eden where Adam and Eve are naked, realizing their own nakedness, and God gives them clothes. What is the ultimate moral of the story? That we are supposed to imitate what God does. We are supposed to clothe the naked, and later on, feed the hungry as God also does. Throughout all of the passages of the Torah where God interferes into the affairs of humanity, we are charged with the responsibility of imitating what God does, a belief that. So which is more important? Belief in or belief that? I mean, obviously both of them are critical, but does one have more importance than the other? And so we come to this week's Torah portion that begins, at least in part, by the creation of a mizbeach, of an altar that the Jewish people would fashion in order to connect with God. We are told that they're supposed to create the altar out of stone and out of earth. Any person could do such a thing. Any person could fashion an altar without having any special great knowledge, or certainly without any great amount of wealth. And then later on in next week's Torah portion, we have Vayichuli Truma, and have the Jewish people collect for me Truma. Have them take tithes from what they have and present that Truma to God through the emissaries of the Kohanes and the Levis. And that Truma could be gold or silver. So what is the difference? The difference between the two passages is powerful. That for God we create an altar out of stone, which has no value at all. For people, we create whatever we can out of the best of what we possess. Again, if we're to follow the imagery that is portrayed in the Torah, imitating God, a belief that becomes very persuasive and compelling. Where are we? We should be somewhere between the two. Both of them are extraordinarily valuable, but in the final analysis, a Jew is defined by what a Jew does, which is why in this Sidra of Mishpatim, there are so many intricate laws that far outstrip just 10 commandments that we read last week in the Torah. I wish you Shabbat Shalom, to find yourself with God as well as with a God that.